fill up your lungs. Pick all the sticks and roll it up quick. Seal the paper with your tongue. Pack it all in a bowl as I burn right through the grain. Taking the hit alone is a sin. Evil smile starts to gleam. Hop, all the colors and shapes make my world turn over slow. A pop any pill to make myself chill. Just sit back, enjoy the show. Drop them all in my hand. Give me all that I can hold. Shovel bit to push down the sin. Please don't find my body cold. Flick all the light as they go, light my path to happy days. Twink the drag on the sick, how I want to spend my days. Beep, what the ATM said, so I'll try some more on E. Still have a stick to light you with, guess I'll put my mind at ease. Just one more time, I'll put my mind at
The song stylings of Mix Master Joey Hernandez. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back for week 2, day 6 of Teen Driver Education, the Hernandez Driveway. And today we are going to be talking about water safety and you are the driver. And once again, that is the Hernandez Driveway. Everybody teaches this a little bit different. You know, everyone has their own method of getting the information across, and you know, we try to make it entertaining for y'all. So with today's lesson, we're going to skip some videos because they are going to be in part of your homework, and you'll be learning about a little bit of water safety today, which is very important. And the reason that it's been added to the curriculum is because we've had just entirely too many people drown. And even if the number is not thousands or hundreds a year, I mean, two is too many. Two lives that could be saved from a little bit of useful information is a big difference, folks. So we are going to be discussing that, and then you are the driver. And then today we're going to end off talking about a little financial responsibility, and then I'm going to show y'all how the scheduling is going to be working. All right, let's see here. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Thank you, everyone, for getting those names in the chat. And let's rock and roll, because water safety and you are the driver. And how do I keep getting flipped? Come on. No, click on the ugly fat guy in the hat. There we go. Okay, no, that is right. Huh. safety, and you are the driver. Okay, so water safety. Learn how to swim, wear your life jacket, and take a boater safety class. So, how much do you know about water safety? Okay. Well, who must take boater education? Now, I don't expect y'all to know these answers, but is this a bit of information that you've ever heard before? Have you ever even heard of boater education before? Some of you probably not, so you wouldn't know the correct answer is anyone born on or after September 1st, 1993, right? That's, your parents, your generation, in there. And why? Because it's the same people that need to take driver's education, and all of those people were required to take driver's ed. Right? That's a necessity. Now, Texas law requires that a personal watercraft operator must wear a life jacket. A personal watercraft is a jet ski, right? Any sort of it's just one person or the two-person models, and that is absolutely true. You are significantly more likely to fall off a personal watercraft, a jet ski, something like that, than you are a boat. Right? I mean, as a matter of fact, sometimes it's an expectation that you're going to fall off the jet ski. That's part of the use, right? Part of the fun, and then able to just jump into the water and then climb back up. Right, now, what is the purpose of the ignition safety switch lanyard, also called a kill switch on a PWC or powerboat? Well, the kill switch is a piece of equipment that is required on all newly manufactured devices, and anything that was old enough to not have one is kind of grandfathered in, but it is a requirement because what it does is it shuts off the engine in the event that you fall overboard. How is that helpful? Well, if your jet ski or your boat keeps going and you're stuck in the water, there's this movie called 37 Meters Down, because that's where the sharks are, that you could wind up in that sort of situation. No vessel, no means of transportation across rough waters can put you in a very dangerous situation. So the kill switch turns the boat off, turns the jet ski off, right? By law, life jackets must be, right? Texas loves all of the above. They really do, because they need to be Coast Guard approved, meaning they are of sufficient quality to actually save a person, right? They have to be in good serviceable condition. It's kind of like a t-shirt, right? If the t-shirt falls off at the first tug, not a very good t-shirt. Well, if a life jacket falls off at the very first tug, not a very good life jacket. It's kind of hard to get saved by something that's ready to disintegrate. So it needs to be in good serviceable condition. It needs to be usable and then readily accessible. It serves you no purpose if it's going to take you 20 minutes to find a life jacket. I once requested a life jacket from the boat owner that was larger than the ones he had. He had two out on deck, and they were for some scanty people. And I was like, "Do you have anything bigger than that?" He's like, "I've got one, but I don't think you're gonna want to wear it." And I was like, "It's a life jacket. I want to wear it." Bright pink, and it said "hot stuff" on the back. It was his wife's, who was not with us that day, and I didn't care because it was my size. It worked. And I was very happy to have a life jacket on, right? But it took us 15 minutes to get it, and had that boat started sinking before, I thought to ask, it would have been way too long before I could have gotten my hands on that thing. So all of the above. Now, what factors increase the risk of drowning? Now, you may look at this and you may think, well, all of the above again, but weather is not a factor to increase risk in drowning. Weather should be a factor to determine whether it's worth swimming or not. Okay? Because plain and simple, swimming on a clear and sunny day, or cool and overcast day, is difficult enough. Right? Swimming with high winds, stormy weather, that's nearly impossible to do so in a safe way. And lightning storms, things like that, you certainly don't want to be in water. I've been struck by lightning. It sucks. Don't do it. So weather is not a factor to increase risk of drowning. Weather is a factor to increase whether it's even viable to go swimming. Right? Do not swim in anything other than mild weather. right? High winds, not worth it. It's going to create extra eddies and undertows, right? Storming, raining, well, fishing, swimming, all that stuff can be better in the rain, but you also run the risk of lightning strike. So, pneumonia, things like that. So avoid water sports when the weather sucks. It's that easy. Because lack of supervision and lack of swimming ability are the two biggest factors that increase the risk of drowning. Right? You are never too old to learn how to swim. My fiance was 31 when I taught her. And you are never too young to learn how to swim. Well, those are the videos. Now, those are going to be part of the homework assignment. Please do watch them because those were real Texas citizens talking about their real experiences, and many of them was about the real people that they lost that are no longer alive because they weren't as safe as they needed to be. Now, about 1 in 5 people who die from drowning are children ages 14 and younger. This is why children ages 14 and younger are required to wear a life jacket. Right? For every child who dies from drowning, another 5 have injuries that send them to the emergency room. Over 50% of drowning victims treated in emergency rooms require hospitalization or further care, compared to a hospitalization rate of about 6% for all unintentional injuries. And the reason this is that drowning does the one thing that messes our body up the fastest. The one thing that sends us into a dying state the fastest is to deprive us of oxygen. Take the air that we breathe away for as little as 2 minutes, and you can cause lasting damage. In as little as 3 minutes, you can cause entire death of the mind. Now, I say the mind because the brain can sometimes keep a body going, even after the 3 minutes, but generally, the individual that used to inhabit that body is no more. The person that they were is gone because their mind has been blanked, right? And it doesn't even take that long. In the wrong conditions and the wrong circumstances, a couple minutes without oxygen can be more than fatal. Okay, so learn to swim because just being able to swim will help. Wear a life jacket because wearing a life jacket will help. And any chance you get to learn a skill that could save someone's life, take it. Whether you watch a YouTube video or go out and get yourself fully certified for CPR, I don't care. But you can learn to do those things. You can learn the Heimlich maneuver. You can learn, emergency situations for car accidents where the car catches fire, all kinds of crazy things by reading articles, by going on YouTube, and taking the opportunity to learn skills that can save a life has never failed me. I took California requirements when I lived in California for a little over a year, and that's where I took driver's ed, but it's also where I took first aid lifeguard training and became a certified lifeguard like every other damn person that had $33 and went to high school. Because we all had to take the coursework to get the certification. You just had to then pay for the certification. Right? So anybody that wanted to become a lifeguard in California got the training for free at school. And I've used it several times and saved lives with it. And I've never felt bad because I wasted time learning something like that. I've never been upset that, I learned that because it has made the difference for some people. Now, there are more than 625,000 registered boats in Texas, ranking 6th in the nation. Canoes and kayaks are not registered in Texas, otherwise we may be a little higher, but we're not a big kayaking state. We've only got 2 good rivers for that, and yeah. Now, 1 out of 6 Texans, or 4.36 million people, participate in motor activities every year, or motor boating activities every year. Cochinos. Anyway, those individuals are going out fishing, they're skiing, they're on jet skis, they're doing all kinds of things, okay? But in Texas, there was a dramatic decrease in boating-related fatalities from a high of 61 in 2008 to 27 in 2010 and 2012. And what made the difference there? This course that you're taking right now. Because that's around when this course became mandatory. That's when people got that little bit of education, right? Non-fatal drowning injuries can cause severe brain damage, as I said, in as little as 2 minutes. And unless you're Victor Frankenstein and you can slap a new brain in someone's body, they ain't gonna be getting up after that. And even if you did, it wouldn't be the same person. Or Victoria Frankenstein, I don't know. I could have gender bent that. Anyway, lack of swimming ability. Many adults and children report that they can't swim. Because swimming used to be a thing where, like, we had natural bodies of water we would go swimming in. And now it became a pool you have to go pay to use. And since nobody uses the bathroom when they go to the pool, I can clearly understand why some of your parents may not have decided to take you down to that pool. 37,000 kids in a swimming pool for 8 hours straight, not one left to use the restroom. Gee, I wonder what happened. So, it happens. But we need to learn. We need to learn. If you have not already learned how to swim, take an adult swimming class or a teen swimming class as you want to see it. But learn, because, drowning sucks. Especially since our bodies are basically designed to float if you have any kind of extra weight on you. Any kind, anything over 8% body fat and you can float. Or anything over 6% body fat and you can float. So tacos save lives. Lack of close supervision. Drowning can happen quickly and quietly anywhere there is water, even in the presence of lifeguards. Right? It happens, right? And even in situations where there are people out there looking, sometimes the area that they're looking over is ginormous and they're trying to keep track of hundreds, if not thousands of people. All right, I've been to Pismo Beach where they filmed the movie Jaws. Y'all have probably never seen that flick, but great movie about a shark eating people. Right? But there was one antique lifeguard station that wasn't torn down because it was in that movie, and then there was another one, and then a mile down the beach there was one more, and that was it. And there weren't always people occupying those seats. Only during the summer and spring break. And one person occupying one of those seats had a mile of beach to monitor. So it happens, okay? And then more than half of fatal and non-fatal drownings among those 15 years and older occurred in natural water settings. That's lakes, rivers, streams, ponds, canals. Maybe not canals. I guess those could be artificial water. But they generally mean just like regular water, rivers, the beach, the ocean. Failure to wear life jackets. Annually, over 70% of the boating deaths that occur are caused by drowning, which means that over 70% of them are preventable. With over 80% of the victims not wearing life jackets, and that means 80% of the people are not doing what they have to stay alive. That's why education matters, folks. That's why knowing that you are 5 times more likely to die if you fall in the water without a life jacket than if you fall in the water with a life jacket. You'll understand that life jackets are the seat belts of the sea. You don't wear it because you're expecting something bad to happen. You're wearing it because if something bad does happen, you're going to be safe. You're going to be protected. And then alcohol use. Among adolescents and adults, alcohol use is involved in up to 70% of the deaths associated with water recreation. Now, I understand the concept of sitting on a bank, fishing, and drinking a couple of beers on a nice hot day. I totally get that. Okay. But driving a boat is like driving a car, and I certainly wouldn't want to do that at anything less than 100%. Skiing, like being tugged by a rope, and the only thing keeping you from drowning are 2 sticks strapped to your feet as you slide across the water. That's probably another thing that you want to do sober and in your full mental capacity, because it's not easy, right? It's a little tough, right? So do not drink and do anything that could wind up killing you. Can this activity kill me? Lawn darts, yes. Suction cup darts, no. If the answer is no, then it's appropriate to do while you've been drinking. If it can kill you, then no, you should not be messing with that at all. And y'all should be drinking responsibly once you are over 21. I know that's not necessarily going to happen. We'll talk about that on Friday, on Drugs and Alcohol Day. But combining drinking or drugs with other activities can take something that's normally okay to do and make it a fatal situation. All right, swimming skills help. Learn to swim. Statistics show that taking part in formal swimming lessons reduce the risk of drowning among children aged 1 to 4 years old. You can learn to swim at 1. Why? Because you are created in a water environment. Babies that are born in what's called a water birth, basically it's a pool, and you give birth into a pool, and the baby just comes out, and it's now just kind of floating in a water environment still. No sudden shock of being brought out into the air and bright lights and all that stuff. It's kind of cool. And the really cool thing is that because babies have been in amniotic fluid their entire creationary period, they don't try to breathe in through their nose. They don't try to breathe in through their mouth. And so when you resubmerge a baby after, and you go underwater and you watch them, and they're holding their tiny little breath and they're trying to swim about. Because we can learn to swim at that super young age of 1. The reason they have to wait till 1 is because they need enough muscles to actually swim. Until then, they have a hard time just keeping their head from being boneless, right? Baby's head's always got a cradle. Right, so it just takes that 1 year to grow muscles, and then you can learn how to swim because you already instinctually know how to hold your breath. Okay. Now, life jackets can reduce risk where potentially 75% of all boating deaths might have prevented with the use of life jackets. Okay. That's like 18 people. You know what? That may not sound like a lot to you, but check this out. Your favorite relative. Let's say they're one of the 18 people. Now, is it important? For some of these people, it was. The videos that y'all are going to watch, the kids in there are just talking about how wonderful those people were. Take a boater safety course. Boaters who take a boater safety course are less likely to be involved in an accident. In Texas, a person born on or after September 1st, 1993 must take a boating safety course to operate a power vessel. Seconds count. Learn CPR. Performed by bystanders, it has been shown to save lives and improve outcomes in drowning victims. The more quickly CPR is started, the better the chance of an improved outcome. And folks, no oxygen, no life. So it does matter, right? Now, supervise when in and around water. Designate a responsible adult to watch young children while in the bath and all children swimming or playing in or around water. What's a responsible adult, though? A responsible adult is kind of like the person you want teaching you how to drive. You want them to be in the front seat. What does that mean? You want them there near the children. You want them paying attention to you and nothing else. Because if they're on YouTube, it's easy for a kid to drown. Drowning can happen in 2 minutes. All right? If you're on TikTok, all the videos are 2 minutes long, right? Something like that. So you watch one TikTok video and, we need another Juanito. Maria drowned. No, we can't have that sort of individual. So it needs to be someone just like the one that teaches you to drive. They need to have a front seat to the show. They need to be paying attention, and they need to be actively trying to help. Okay? Because that's what a driving teacher does. When we're in the car with you, we are in the front seat. We are actively paying attention, and we're trying to help. When someone's giving you a private lesson, like out at home when you're doing the drives with your folks and getting that extra practice, they need to be in the front seat. They need to be paying attention. They need to be trying to help you. And that's what we need for that responsible adult watching children. All right. If they want to be drinking, if they're constantly focused on other stuff, if they're complaining about the activity, if they're bored, they're not a responsible adult. And they're not going to be paying the attention that they need to. All right. My family has like a little annual get together where a couple hundred of us just kind of bunch up at this place that we rent, and it's got a pool. And when we do, there's like 5 adults like actively in the water, 3 just kind of sitting back watching everyone else, and then 2 more playing with all the little kids so that there's someone right in the middle. That way we can quickly communicate, and even if we're 30 feet away, we can have somebody out the water in like 3-4 seconds once it's noticed. That's just how we do it. We don't even plan it like that. That's just how it works out, because we're all choosing to cover different areas. We're all choosing to take different responsibilities, and we're just being responsible. Avoid alcohol. Avoid drinking alcohol before or during swimming, boating, or water skiing. Do not drink alcohol while supervising children. Like I said, for whatever reason, people want to drink like a 24-pack and be out on a boat. Well, what happens when you stand up, you're too drunk to stand properly, you fall over, land in the water, try to get back in the boat, flip the boat over, the boat sinks, you now have to swim back to shore, but you've had a 24-pack? I don't think that's going to happen. But people do it all the time. I was invited to go fishing by a friend's grandpa when I was about 12. Little flat bottom boat. And he was so drunk by the time we were done fishing, he took a 4-hour nap in his car before we went anywhere. And probably still shouldn't have ridden with him. But people think that that's okay, folks, and we need to move away from that. Our culture, and they don't mind drinking. Now, this is a checklist of required equipment, and you should be able to find this on any vessel that you get on. All right? If you get on somebody's boat, ask them where the checklist is or the equipment checklist is, and they will gladly show it to you, usually, or they'll be like, it's over there. You can't miss it. It's big and blue. It's not really all that big. It's about 4 times the size of your driver's license, so like twice as tall, twice as wide. Not huge. But it does list everything that's required to be on there, and that needs to be up and prominently displayed, just like that minimum wage thing if you already have a job and you've seen that. All right? But you don't have to know the information. What you do have to know is this. Now, life jackets used on personal watercraft versus boats. Okay, personal watercrafts must wear a life jacket at all times, regardless of age. The equipment is new enough. There have not been people using these things for 70 years. And there are not going to be people that have antique versions of this that, simply defy the use of a life jacket. So they make everyone use a life jacket on a personal watercraft at all times, regardless of age. Okay? Now, boats, on the other hand, have been around for frickin' ever. And there are people that were boating for like 40 years, 50 years, without ever putting on a life jacket. And telling them that they have to by law is going to ruffle a lot of feathers, and Texas does not like doing that. The United States does not like doing that. So on a boat, it's only required for children under age of 13. Okay? And then you have to be at least 16 years old or older to wear an inflatable life jacket because those are sized for adults. Anyone younger than that trying to use an inflatable life jacket might just slip right out the sucker and wind up drowning anyway. Okay? Now, an ignition safety cutoff switch must be attached and installed in any new personal watercraft built, and it must be attached and in use at all times while underway. And when they say attached, they don't mean attached to the vessel, because the vessel won't run without it. They mean attached to you, the driver. All right, now that may seem stupid. Why do I want this thing on my wrist? Because if you fall off, you need it. You need the boat to stop. You need the Sea-Doo, the jet ski, the whatever you own to stop, because if it doesn't, well, then, you may be the next person that we got on milk cartons or dredging the ocean for. Stuff happens. All right, now ignition safety cutoff switch use is highly recommended on boats. And the reason it's highly recommended is, like I said, there have been boats forever, and they can't make an old dude, like a 60-year-old guy being told, you need to put this kill switch on your boat, is going to be like, no, I've had this boat for 50 years. My daddy bought it when I was 10 years old, and it's never had a kill switch. I'm not installing one. You can't make me. And in all honesty, they really can't. So new equipment gets designed to have them. The laws say that if it's new, they have to have safety stuff. But old equipment, they get the buy, so it's a strong recommendation because they can't enforce the law on everyone unless everyone has the same stuff. All right, and people don't. Some people still do have their little old boats. So, be advised. It's highly recommended, but is it smart to use or to not use it? No, not at all. Because the kill switch does one thing and one thing only. Ensures that your boat stays within 20 meters of you. That's it. Because if you can still try to get back into your boat, then you still have a chance. But if your boat sails off and you're out in the middle of nowhere, well, then you have to get lucky and have someone spot you. And if you've ever gone fishing on the ocean, I've actually never gone fishing on like the ocean and had another person like just drive by while we're fishing, even when we have a huge boat. I've also never had a situation where I'm in a lake and there are like 20 people in the same area. It's like, oh look, this area is taken, let's move to another one. People generally space themselves out when doing fishing like that. And if you're recreational boating, well then, there it's a little different. There you can get help a little easier, but only if it's like that stuff where everyone's doing it. All right, now, a driver down flag, maximum safe distances. Okay, so a personal watercraft may not operate within 50 feet of anything or anyone except at headway speed. Headway speed is slightly faster than walking, and that's a no wake speed. Wake is that little ripple of water that comes out in a V whenever a vessel passes. Personal watercraft can create a very bad wake. They can actually tip other boats over. That's why they have this restriction on them. Now, a driver down flag, no vessel may operate within 50 feet of a driver down flag and must slow to headway speed within 150 feet. Why? Because a driver down flag literally means the person that's operating the boat has fallen out, they pulled on a cord, and now they're either trying to get back in or waiting for help to show up. Now, the reason they say you may not move within 50 feet of a driver down flag is unless you're actively looking for the driver who's down, you might actually hit them. So if you see a little flag up on the side of a boat, stay away from it and start calling out, see if they need some help. All right. Homeland Security restriction: do not approach within 100 yards or 300 feet of any U.S. naval vessel and slow to walking speed within 1,500 feet or 500 yards. Why? Because they're military. And if a vehicle, like let's say a speedboat, goes hauling buns at them at 60 knots an hour. Sorry, that's the aquatic term, right? 60 knots an hour, and or 60 knots, I guess. The U.S. military vessel is going to get nervous. Why is this boat rushing at us? I don't know, but if it gets within 1,500 feet, we may have to blow it up. Okay, it's within 2,000 feet. Driver, please slow down, and they'll go over broadband and just announce to anyone and everyone that can hear it. You know, please slow down. You are approaching U.S. military vessel, blah, blah, blah. And if you do not slow to headway speed immediately, we will be forced to treat your actions as aggressive. And then people get blown up, right? That is real stuff. Why? Because, well, it's called an act of terrorism. People go out and do stuff like that. It's not common, it's not regular, but you know what? Better safe than sorry kind of works for the U.S. military. So you must slow down. And if you approach them, you will have some guns at the very least pointed at you, folks. So don't do it unless, you know, there is like a real emergency. You know. Anyway, and I mean like real emergency. They're not there for like lifeguard stuff usually, and it takes too long to travel 1,500 yards or 1,500 feet on a boat for real lifeguard help. Anyway, legal operating hours for personal watercraft, jet ski, and towable water sports. All right, personal watercraft gets sunrise to sunset because it's so easy to fall off that you need to be plainly visible when you do. So you cannot drive it when it's even the slightest bit dark. Okay, towable water sports, that's just a regular boat with a motor. That's the same hours as your headlights, half an hour after sunset is when you get out of the water, and you can go in a half an hour before sunrise. It's the same hours as not having to have your headlights on, to more accurately state that, because it's harder to fall out of a boat. Okay, that's that simple. It's harder to fall out of a boat, so they give you that little bit of extra time to get in because, you know, they know fishing at the dark is effective, so they give you that little bit of time to get out there when it's already getting dark and the fish really start biting. Then boat registration. I love me some fishing, if you can't tell. Boat registration. Once a vehicle is equipped with any form of mechanical propulsion, it must be registered. Electric trolling motors are included. That means once there's any kind of power and it poses a risk to anyone, you have to register your boat. All right. If it is a rowboat, you are good to go and super slow. All right. But once you put any kind of motor on it, boom, you need some kind of registration. And Parks and Wildlife will pull you over in a boat. All right. Now, over the water safety questions. Among adolescents and adults, alcohol use is involved in up to 70% of the deaths associated with water recreation activities. Now that you've taken this course, you know that that is absolutely true. So let's not drink while we're out by the water, right? I know beach beer, you know, common fun thing, but as y'all will learn on Friday, alcohol plus beach could equal, you know, drowning. Okay. Now, well, but you already know that. Now, 1 in 5 people who die from drowning are 14 and younger. Well, absolutely. Once again, and that's the reason that y'all need to hear this, because y'all are, you know, the next generation. Y'all are the people that are going to know this so that your kids don't experience this. Okay? And people have been learning this since back in 2008. So hopefully, you know, the very next generation, everyone that needs to tell them, hey, things like this happen when you're on the water, they're already going to know. All right, now more than half of fatal and non-fatal drownings among those aged 15 and older occurred in bathtubs, and we already know that's not true. They occurred in natural water settings because, you know, the lake, the undertow on like inland water is surprising. Did you know that? Did you know that even lakes have undertows and undercurrents underneath the water, much like the ocean does? A lot of people don't know that, and unfortunately that can lead to instances of drowning where underwater currents catch someone and they're toast. Now, swimming with a friend or family member in close supervision of children are factors that reduce the risk of drowning. That is absolutely true. Okay? Swimming by yourself is dangerous because if no one knows where you are, what you're doing, it's kind of hard to send a search party into the water. And then a personal watercraft is required to have which of these on board? Now, if I'd given you a really long time to look at the certificate, or if you paused, you would have seen that it is in fact a whistle and a certificate number. The certificate confirms that it has been inspected and checked to ensure that it is compliant with all Texas laws, and that whistle is for a very simple purpose. Hour 1, help! Hour 2, help! Hour 3, help! Hour 4, help! With a whistle, hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, hour 4. Same thing all the time, because all we have to do is respirate, breathe. We can save our throat for when people actually get close to us. But that whistle will carry further and will be much easier to use to signal for help than, you you trying to scream for 4 hours. And it can't take that long for a water rescue, folks. Don't think it can. All right, and then these are the resources. The videos are linked as part of your homework assignment today, so you will get to watch those. Please do understand that those are real stories, real people, and the people in the pictures that they lost are real lives that are gone from Texas. Right? Those teens chose to share their story so that hopefully you would be safe, right? Now, you are the driver. What you showed up for, what you came for, driver's ed, right? Because you are now part of the system. Congratulations, folks. But to be honest, you've been part of the system since the first time you rode home. Because the Highway Transportation System, also known as the HTS, is constructed of people, okay, vehicles, and roadways. And the main purpose of the HTS is to safely transport people and vehicles, there's the safely, across roadways. That's it. Right, people, cars, and roads. Anytime you ride in a car, whether you're driving or a passenger, you're part of the HTS. If you're walking on the side of the road, you're part of the HTS. Riding your bike, riding your skateboard, HTS. Okay? Roadway users, that's everybody. Walking, running, driving, riding in a vehicle, riding on a freaking horse, in a buggy. People. And then vehicles, oh, there's a bunch of them. Some of them are small, offer little to no protection. And you may be laughing looking at that. There's a dude in McAllen that lives somewhere between, I want to say 495 and Harvey and 10th Street and 2nd Street. He lives somewhere in there because I've seen him in that area a few times driving around a little bitty motorcycle. Very funny. But hey, it gets him there. And then we have large vehicles weighing many tons with extra protection. Perhaps not a tank, but we certainly do have a lot of big rigs, freight haulers out here, and them trucks are huge, and they got a lot of extra protection, right? And then the tractors, things like that. And then our roadways, man, those things are just everything. They vary from dirt, gravel, expressways, roads that turn to pure mud when it rains, roads that flood when it rains. I mean, it's just roadways. When we needed a road, someone put a road. The more it got used, the better the road became. Roads that are used by like one person every day and that's it are pretty much going to be garbage. Roads that are used by hundreds of people every day, those are the ones that get the attention. All right. Now, they can be flat, hilly, or have sharp turns. Right? Winding roads get made through the lowest point in the between hills because it's easier to run road that way than it is to bulldoze a hill. So we get all kinds of roads and materials. Right? Now, we have 3 levels of government regulating the HTS. Okay, the first is federal. That's the top shelf. They make rules, and everyone in the United States and the aligned territories are obligated to follow those rules. All right? Now, if y'all are not familiar with what building this is the one that domestic terrorists assaulted in an attempt to kill Senate. And that's the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. All right? Now, the next level of government is state. If you are not familiar with this one, it's an awesome place. It's about 5 hours away. Go visit it sometime. Because this building is the state capitol building in Austin. I've never actually been closer than this to this building, than like what the view from this image would provide. But it's a really beautiful place, and there's a lot going on there that is very interesting. And then the next level regulating the HTS is going to be our local government. All right. Now, this building, in case you don't know it, is City Hall in FAR. And when did you ask when you signed up for this course? Whether you care or not, these three parts of government are what makes up the rules that you're going to be responsible for following. Mr. Salcedo, if you can look up that, please. Let's see here. And then when you combine the laws created by all three levels of government passed, you get what is called the vehicle code. Now, at times, even cities are passing rules and regulations, such as last time during the presidential campaigning, there were a lot of people driving up and down the street honking their horns. The city of McAllen did not appreciate this. They passed a rule stating that people can't be doing that for that purpose, and now people can't be driving up and down the roads. That rule only applies to McAllen, though. Other cities have to draft their own, or the state or federal has to draft their own rules about it, right? But each level that affects you is the one for the area that you're in. So if you're driving through a city or county that you're not familiar with, you could be breaking a law that you're unaware of, all right? So please always drive responsibly, always drive safely, and follow the instructions on signs, speed limits, things like that, folks. Because the vehicle code is all those laws that are passed to regulate your HTS. All right, now all the social, physical, and mental skills required to drive safely. Social is like interacting and cooperating with others. How do we interact with other roadway users socially? Well, we use our turn signals, our horn, our hand signals, our eye contact, our brake lights, flashing our high beams, sometimes even our voice. All right, I've been stuck in traffic jams where the lane next to me was moving, the lane on the other side of me was moving, the one I was in was stuck because there was an accident up ahead of me. And I've used my voice, excuse me, can I please move over? And people are so delighted by the politeness that a lot of times they'll give you the break and let you move over, even though other people honk at them. So it never costs anything to be polite, but being rude can certainly get you shut down fast. All right, now, what else do we have? Well, we also have physical skills. But the more you practice, the better you become. Because in all honesty, the basic physical skills, I'm not talking perfection, I'm not talking being the greatest at it, I'm talking just knowing the basics and having what you need to practice. The basics of driving takes about 20 minutes to learn. That's it. 20 minutes, that is all that it takes to learn the basic physical skills required while driving. Now, to get good at all of them takes years. But to learn them, no one failed you when you took the test. If you didn't pass the test, it's because of the questions that or the answers that you gave. But I aren't the one that grades them. But if you need to retake the test, you're more than welcome to do so. It's not limited to like once. Just rewatch the day 5 video. That's the best review for the exam, and then retake the exam. All right, now, but yes, the more you practice those physical skills, the better you will become, and it's only going to take 20 minutes to get you started on that. All right, let's see here. Now, what are some of the physical skills that you need to learn while driving? Well, that's easy. It's smooth acceleration, shifting for manual vehicles, smooth braking, blind spot checks, steering controls, and approach to corner checks. Let's see here. And approach to corner checks, that's what I'm talking about when I say observation. Because as we come up to a corner, even if we don't have a stop and the other people do, If you look and you see that this person over here is not slowing down at all, is it going to be safe for us to just go through? No, because they're clearly going to run that stop. So we need to be looking, because part of avoiding the danger out on the roadway is being aware that it's coming. Okay, and was it a month or so ago? I was on my way to work, and light went green, and I look, and here comes a truck, and I'm like, this guy's not braking. And then the car on the other side thought the exact same thing, because neither of us went, and we actually had one coming from the opposite direction as well. Two people ran the stoplight at the same time, but we waited. Because we looked, we avoided what would have been a horrible collision, because those two vehicles crossing and hitting us both at the same time would have been tantamount to about a 60-mile-an-hour crash, which could have been fatal for us. Okay. Or would have been fatal for me if I'd have gone. So, we need to be looking, folks. All right, but it's not a lot that we have to do. It's very little movement of our hands and a lot of moving our eyes and head. All right, and then your feet, it's very minimal. All right, and then we also have the mental skills required, the decision making. Okay, some of the decisions that you make while you're driving are: should I speed up? Should I slow down? Should I stay in my lane? Should I change lanes? Should I increase my following distance? Can I get a little bit closer? Am I going to need to suddenly swerve around this person because they're about to hit me? Right? These are things that we have to think about and think about and think about and think about, because that's what driving is. Driving is primarily a mental task. Okay? It's a process of seeing, thinking, and responding. And we're going to teach you a system of seeing, thinking, responding called IPDE. We will teach you to identify potential risks and hazards, predict how they can affect you, or we're teaching you the system, I should better say. And then you will use your ability to identify and predict to help you decide what the safest thing to do is. And in the event that one of those things comes up, then you know how to execute. You know what to do to take yourself out of a dangerous situation. So we learn to identify, predict, decide, and execute. And then you identify, predict, decide, and execute. And then you identify, predict, decide, and execute. And you identify, predict, decide, and execute. Over and over again in a never-ending cycle, because you're driving. And that's what we have to be doing. Okay? Now, within the IPD process, there are two different systems that are also used. One is the Smith system that helps develop good seeing habits. And one is zone control system. That's all about managing the space all around you. All right? We're not going to talk about those today. We will be talking about those here in a couple of days, though. So lots of good stuff coming up. All right. Now, your driving responsibilities, though, right? Because driving, remember, is a privilege, not a right. And that privilege can and will be taken away from you. Okay? Do not get those two words confused. Like the cell phone. If a cell phone was issued to you by a government agency and given to you from birth, then that would be a right. The fact that it's something that you have to pay for and they can disconnect you on whenever they want for non-payment, that makes it a privilege. Therefore, if the law says that that privilege is suspended while driving, then that privilege is suspended while driving. Please understand that, folks. All right? The state is giving you a license based on the assumption that you will be a responsible driver and obey all traffic laws while you're using the roadway. All right. However, if you break the law, both on and off the road, you will have your driving privilege taken away. We talked about some of the different things, like graffiti. That's definitely not a driving task, but that can lose you your license. Racing, that is a driving task, and that will automatically lose you your license if you get caught. You better have a car faster than the cops and a helicopter, because they'll get you. All right. Now, your driving responsibilities: have a good attitude. Right. So many drivers have a bad attitude when it comes to driving. And let me give you an example of what a bad attitude is that we may not even recognize. So you're about to come to an exit, right? And there's a vehicle trying to come onto the expressway and you're trying to get off. All right. So normally what drivers want to do is they want to get ahead of the vehicle, put a good following distance between them and yourself, and then move over so that there's no risk of getting hit. Okay. Well, for whatever reason, drivers on the on-ramp also want to get ahead of the other driver, put a good following distance between them and the other vehicle, and then change lanes. And neither of them generally wants to back down. So you hit the gas to go a little bit faster, and now this person hits the gas because they got to be ahead of you. It's a mental imperative. If they do not get ahead of you, the world will frickin' end, and that's how they're going to behave. Okay? So it is very easy to have a good attitude, but it's also very easy to have a bad one. All right? So when people do stuff like that, instead of getting mad at the driver and, hey, I'm just trying to get ahead of you so I can go. If they want to be ahead of you so bad, then you slow down. You be like, it's not that important. I'll slow down, and then now they're ahead of you, and you move over, and voila. Did it have to go like that? No. The second you were ahead of them and you put on your signal, they could have just decreased their speed, dropped back, and moved over, knowing that you were moving over, and everything would have been fine. But not everyone has a good attitude on the roadway. Not everyone's thinking about that. Okay? Avoid road rage. Do not show off and ignore negative peer pressure. Someone tells you to run a stoplight, that person's not going to pay for the ticket if you get a ticket for it. That person's not going to pay for the repairs to your vehicle or your hospital bills, so why the heck would you listen to them? You shouldn't. Because peer pressure, someone telling you to break the law is, well, basically someone telling you to put yourself in jeopardy of getting in trouble, while at the same time they enjoy the position of being in zero risk of the same legal repercussions. All right, so it's easy to say, hey, run the red light. It's a lot harder to do it yourself. And for those individuals that do continually do that, their license is eventually revoked, and you can't even go to jail for reckless driving. Okay? So don't listen to those people. All right? Because how often have you heard of someone getting into an argument, they storm out of the house, get to the car, and then they crash? Why? Because they're too busy thinking about the argument that they just had instead of driving. And driving is a primarily mental task. We need to keep 100% of our attention on the roadway. Now, do I like to calm down by driving? Absolutely, but you have to get into a frame of mind where you're okay to drive. You need to be able to put whatever it is that's bothering you to the back of your mind and not think about it. Focus only on the driving task. Lose yourself in the driving task. Just pay attention to the road and drive. That's how we do it. But we can't do it emotional. And if you're still in that peak anger, if you're still in that peak sadness, if you're in that peak happiness, we need to slow down. We need to take a little time to just get into a good neutral position before we can jump out onto the roadways. And sometimes that means that our exit is less dramatic. We storm outside the house and then wait for 10 minutes while we're calming down in the car and then go. But hey, on Drugs and Alcohol Day, when I get deep into my story, I get a little emotional because I've lost a lot of people due to alcohol and driving. And on that day, I always spend 10-15 minutes listening to music or listening to an audiobook that makes me smile just to get my mood back up so I can get back into a driving situation. Now, breakdowns in the HTS occur when any part of the system does not work well. Well, the system is made of drivers, of cars, and of roadways. So if a car breaks down on the roadway, well, that can cause a breakdown in the HTS, leave lanes blocked, and slow down traffic. When drivers make mistakes, like a lane is ending and they choose to stay in it till the very last second, and then they get stuck, and now they're having to move over, but then the rest of the traffic is slowing down, and that's how traffic jams are caused. All right? So when any part of the system is not working well, if the road is poorly designed, or if the road is flooded, or if it's currently just a mud pit because it's not properly irrigated or paved or anything, then there's a breakdown. You can't go that way. You won't be able to drive that way. Right? That's why McAllen is doing their utmost to take care of flooding problems. They're educating people about not flushing flushable wipes. Yes, they're flushable. They ruin septic systems, even national or citywide ones. Europe had a 300-meter clog that they called Fatberg because people were flushing flushable wipes. You know, so breakdowns happen when people mess up, and it's just like that. All right? So collision versus accident. Now, does anyone think they know the difference between a collision and an accident? What is the difference between the two? Does anyone think that they are able to tell me? And it's okay to be wrong. If you think you have an idea, let's hear it. Okay? But a collision and an accident are very different, and they're very different for a very simple reason. All right? Let's see here. Not seeing anybody volunteering any guesses. So, a collision is a product of a predictable cause. A collision happens when someone does or does not do something that they're supposed to. An accident is something that happens by chance. Two bald eagles making love fall out of the sky, land on the hood of your car, shatter your windshield, and you crash. That's an accident. Okay? Joe Blow has not changed or checked his tires in 5 years, and one of them pops and his car swerves and crashes into yours. That was a collision. He did not perform the necessary maintenance to prevent that from happening, therefore it was eventually going to happen. Right? That is the difference between a collision and an accident. And unfortunately, that means that 99.9 to the 18th millionth power percent of the time, when two cars impact, it's a collision. Okay? Someone did or did not do something that they should or should not have. Okay? Somebody messed up, and because of that, a collision occurred. Oh, I had to stop, but I'm in a hurry, so I chose to go, and now this person who didn't stop when they didn't have a stop, and me crashed. That's the attitude that people have. Okay? Because they think that their exception, their hurry is uniquely special. Unavoidable. I could not have done anything to be to work on time. Did you leave work half an hour sooner than you needed to ensure you had time for shenanigans? That's stupid. Who does that? Everyone that wants to get to work on time and they know they have to deal with bad traffic. Right? It happens, folks. People make bad decisions simply because they're running late. Never make a decision based on, I need to get there faster. Decisions based on, I need to get there faster, quite often wind up getting you either in trouble or there later. And speeding is just not worth it. Now, we're going to look at a very scary chart. Reasons why people your age die. Okay. So, we've got 13% of people are killed by someone who erroneously believes they have a right to do so. No one has the right to take another person's life. All right? I'm kind of weird on this one because I'm pro-death penalty, but I am very, no lynch mob, right? No murderer, no private justice, okay? Because none of us have the right to just decide, you know what, this person has bullied me for so long, and if you want to talk about people with reasons for this, 212 fractures and broken bones from 5th grade to my freshman year in high school. Perpetrated by about a half a dozen individuals. A total of maybe 15, but only 6 of them took it all the way to the end. I never shot nobody. I never murdered nobody, and I've had access to firearms since I was a kid because I never made the decision that I somehow had a right to end someone's life just because they were trash. Now, 11% of teens erroneously believe that their life has no value. They are absolutely wrong. When I was 21, I had a friend who was 19 and felt that his life had no direction, no value, no worth, and he one day took his life and left no note because he felt that there was nothing that he needed to say. When they found his journal, I'm not going to call it a diary, when they found his journal, one of the things that was in there that his sister saw that she told me about is there was one day that he just wrote, "Nobody cares." And he was wrong because when he was gone, there were over 100 people and all of us were weeping at his funeral, right? So people, if you're ever feeling like, your life isn't worth it, yes it is. My life absolutely sucked when I was your age. You have no idea the level of nonsense I went through at your age. But you know what? Things will get better because eventually it's going to be you in charge. You in the driver's seat, and no one else is going to be able to tell you what to do. Eventually you're going to be making all the decisions for yourself, and the way people behave when they're teenagers, if they keep acting like that when they're adults, they wind up going to jail. So don't you worry about that. Things will get better for you, folks. Just give it time. All right? And never be afraid to ask for help. Now, 6% of teens die from malignant neoplasms. That's brain stuff. That's just something in your head pops and you go out like a light. Can't do anything about that. 3% of teens die from heart disease. Unfortunately, some of that is early smoking. Others, it's genetic stuff. All right, congenital anomalies, well, that's birth defects. Born with a hole in your heart, stuff like that, that's only 2% though. And then other causes residual is 17%. Now, the elephant in the room that we've ignored thus far is the 48% for unintentional injury. Now, if you notice 48% of those deaths are unintentional injury, Joey likes to call a little whoopsie, right? You're all young, you don't have much life experience, you try to do something new, and then whoopsie. Okay, so let's take a look at what whoopsie consists of. Well, 7% is unintentional poisoning. Someone grabs a cup, drinks it, and oh no, I drank what? Socrates' famous last words. 5% are unintentional drowning, meaning that 1 in 20, well, 1 in 40 youth that die a year is unintentional drowning. We can cut that down, right? Life jackets. Supervision. Don't swim alone. Don't drink in boat. Y'all can cut that down. So we got that down. Other land transport accident. 3%, that's like buses, trains, things like that. Right? 3%, that's pretty good. That's low. 2% unintentional discharge of a firearm. Every gun you will ever hold is loaded, whether or not you've unloaded it. Why do I say this? Because if you treat it that way, and you behave that way, and you treat guns with the respect and dignity that they deserve to be treated with, you will never accidentally shoot yourself or someone else. Okay? Every firearm should be treated as though it's loaded. That means two things. One, you don't put your finger on the trigger until it's time to put a bullet in somebody. Someone breaks into your home, you grab a rifle, you aim it at them, you shoot to defend your family for your life. This is Texas, you have Castle Doctrine. As long as you ain't shooting them in the back, you're good. Shoot them in the chest, center mass. Because every weapon should be treated as though it is armed, it is charged. Now, if your parents don't have guns in the house, fan-bloody-tastic. Because then you don't have to worry about it, but when you go out into the world, you will go to other people's places and see guns. All right? And people will tell you that a gun is not loaded and be absolutely wrong. The lead singer of Chicago, his last words were, "It's not loaded, see?" You can look that up. Right. Blew his own brains out with a gun that wasn't loaded. Assume every gun is loaded. So one, the trigger does not go on, or your finger does not go on the trigger until it's time to put that gun to use. And number two, we don't point the gun at anyone we don't want to end. It's that simple. Follow those two rules, and you will never accidentally shoot someone. Because if your finger goes on that trigger and you shoot a wall and it bounces, it could hit you right back. Or it could go right through that wall and shoot your neighbor who was sleeping in their bed. Or it could go sailing through the air, burst through someone's roof, and kill someone as they take a nap. Deaths like that happen every year around New Year's around the world because people fire off guns into the air. Right? And then the big wedge. 73% of the 48% is cars. The number one reason that people your age die is cars. Because you're trying to run before you can walk. It takes 5 years of daily driving for someone to be considered an experienced driver. In 6 months, you can become a competent driver. Competent doesn't mean that you are the best. It means that you are good enough and you can be trusted on your own. In 6 short months, with regular practice, you can become a competent driver. Okay? Or a confident driver, I should say. A competent driver, you learn all of that right here. In 3 weeks, you will learn everything it takes to be a competent driver. Why? Because a competent driver is a driver that knows the rules and understands that they need to follow them. A confident, competent driver does not have regular accidents because they know the rules, they know how to follow them, and they do so. And therefore, they minimize the risk to themselves tremendously. I have not been involved in a high-speed collision in 23 years now. And that one was not my fault. When we talk about IPD, I'll tell you all about that one though, because I did use that process even though I didn't know it at the time. But the number one reason that people your age die is cars. Okay? That's more than homicide. Someone erroneously believing they can take your life. More than suicide, someone erroneously believing they can take their own life. More than malignant neoplasms, heart disease, and we can throw in congenital anomalies on top of that too. Because cars are responsible for more deaths than all of those sources. Cars are important, folks. Cars are dangerous. Cars can be converted into a weapon in a matter of moments. One simply needs to make the decision to do so. Don't ever be that person, guys. Ladies, gentlemen, it's not worth putting your life and the life of someone else in danger because you're angry at them. Someone does something stupid. Would you be friends with them? No. Would you want to hang out with them publicly? No, clearly they're stupid. Why would I want to hang out with them? So then why are you going to spend the next 30 minutes? Why are you going to spend the next 5 minutes? Why are you going to spend the next 10 minutes thinking about some idiot? Okay? Why are you going to take 10 minutes being angry at someone that you don't even know? You don't even know what they look like half the time. It's just the idiot in the red Jeep, the idiot in the red SUV, the idiot in the red car. Not to be prejudiced against red. The idiot on the green motorcycle. You know, whatever it is, whoever it is. Have a good attitude, folks. Let it go. Because just like you really don't care what they do to themselves, we also don't care about them. So we don't need to preoccupy ourselves with them for the next hour. Okay? Now, we've talked briefly about financial responsibility as car insurance is concerned. And I told y'all all the different ways that one can have coverage. But today we're going to talk about financial responsibility as a whole, because y'all are arriving at that age where soon y'all will be going out on your own, right? So do you want to live at home forever? So let's talk about living on your own. Let's talk about what it takes, right? Because what are the 3 basic things humans need to survive? All right, folks? 3 basic things that humans need to survive. Now the lag in the video is going to leave me giving y'all a very big gap. But if you think you know one of the things, and folks, I just want to point out these are things that we do not get for free. We still get air for free, so yeah, we get air, we're covered there. They haven't figured out how to bill us for that. But we do have things that we need to pay for that we need for survival. Anybody know what they are? Can anybody tell me one of them? One of the non-free things that we need to live? Food. Absolutely. Food is one of the 3 necessities. All right? And food ain't cheap. Food ain't free. We have to pay for it. Well, to go with food, we also need our water. You know, a man cannot live by Dr. Pepper alone. A person really does need to drink water. So we got to have some food. We got to have some good old-fashioned water. And then the last thing we need, most of y'all take for granted, because someone else has paid for it your entire existence. I mean, food and water too. But you've been hungry, you've been thirsty. But you've never truly been, or at least hopefully you haven't been, without shelter. Because shelter's the big one. And believe me, I've been homeless for a minute, and being homeless sucks. Not being able to shower, that's the thing I missed the fastest when it came to being homeless. You know, getting sweaty, getting smelly, I hated it. You know, the not having food, that sucks too. But food's a lot cheaper than shelter. And water, well, you can get you some free water. Right? But let's start with moving out, so let's start with our shelter, right? All right, now, here in the valley, we have an extremely low cost of living. And since y'all don't have thousands and thousands of dollars saved up in the bank, y'all are going to have to rent, all right? And the cheapest thing that you can rent is a studio apartment. Now, what is a studio apartment? Well, quite simply, it's basically the room that you're in. It's a room of modest size, nothing huge, nothing tiny. And then in Texas, now we do have a closet. That's not guaranteed to be any size. That can be minuscule. And you do have to have a separate and enclosed kitchen and bathroom. All right? This room, though, is your bedroom, your living room, all of that stuff. Your bathroom and kitchen are closed off for different reasons. All right? Around here, the cost of living is so low that you may be able to find one of these or a one bedroom for $400 to $550. But in other areas, like around Edinburgh near UTRGV, you could be paying $1,000 to $1,200 for the same sort of stuff. All right, so let's keep things simple and get that studio for $400. Start us off with a nice low cost, right? Now, before you can move in though, you must give a first and last month's rent as deposit, because when you're signing a lease, you're signing a long-term rental agreement where you agree you are going to make a payment to them for 1 year, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, depending on the length of your lease, right? And you're gonna have to live there for that long, and you owe them that money the second you sign the lease. It's like you give it to them over time as you're paying your rent, all right? But if they boot you out, they can come after you for the rest of it, right? But just to start out, you need that first and last month's rent so that they, at the very least, can let you in, realize you're not going to pay, and kick you out without losing too much money. So that's a deposit of $800 before you can even move in, right? And, well, now we have a place to sleep. We need electricity. We got phones to charge, TVs to watch, games to play, not to mention that air conditioner. And, folks, just so that you do know, air conditioning is not a necessity in Texas, while heating is. So if your apartment does not have an air conditioner, there's nothing that you can do about that except for go buy yourself a window unit, because landlords are not required to rent you something with AC. All right, but you are going to have that light bill, so that's going to be about $135 a month for a one bedroom. And I used to sell electricity, so yeah, if you like to keep things a little bit cool but not insane, that's totally reasonable. $135 a month for a one bedroom. Now, before they turn on your power, though, you're going to have to give the light company a deposit because you have no payment history. They do not know how you're going to, or how you pay your bills. They don't know how effectively you'll be paying your bills. So they want some money up front to make sure. That deposit's going to be $200, right? If not more. It can go up to $250 or $300. Now, what about the stove and water heater? Well, if they're electric, you're good. If they're gas, that's another bill, another deposit. All right? But this is a different company, so that's why it's a deposit, right? Okay, and then, well, let's assume that your landlord includes water and trash. Otherwise, that's 2 more bills with 2 more deposits. All right, let's also assume that you have all the things that you need to furnish your place, okay, such as your bedroom. Okay, your bedroom, you need your bed stand, your box spring, your mattress, your headboard, your footboard, your bed skirt, your fitted sheet, your comforter, your pillows, your pillowcase, your nightstand, your lamp, your dresser, your mirror, your hangers. You gotta hang up your stuff, right? You gotta keep those nice clothes looking good. And you got to be able to check on yourself, brush your hair, all that fun stuff. So you need this stuff. Now, fortunately, you already have all of this. Otherwise, this stuff gets expensive. I just bought a new mattress recently. It was like $300. The box spring was like another $200. And I actually built my bed frame because I couldn't find one that met my requirements. Not in the price range that I wanted. So thank goodness you got those, because that gets pricey, right? And then let's assume you also have the stuff for your bathroom. Okay, because your bathroom, you need a plunger, a toilet brush, toilet paper, shower liner, shower curtain, shower rings, shower rod. Wait a second. When you rent an apartment, it doesn't come with a shower curtain rod? No, it doesn't. Very first time I rented an apartment, I got home, like from just finishing moving all my stuff in, and I was so excited, I was so happy. I was like, I'm going to get clean, set up the TV, fix me some dinner, and just relax. And I went into the bathroom, and there was no damn shower curtain. There was nothing. I had to go buy the curtain, the rings, the rod, the everything, just so I could take a shower without hosing down the floor. And then, are you tall? Do you like taking showers where water comes down on you? Well, then you may have to spend a little bit extra, because I've never rented an apartment in Texas that has a rain shower that was less than like $1,500 a month, and that's just too expensive for down here. So you may have to spend some extra gadgets just to get that bathroom up to where it's comfy, right? But then you need the toothbrush holder, the shampoo, the conditioner, the razors, the floor mats, the toilet paper holder, the hand soap, the trash can. A lot of that stuff is cheap, though. Very little of it costs much money. Thank goodness you have everything, though, because that's at least another $100, though, that you got to spend on the bathroom. And then let's go ahead and assume that you've got everything for the kitchen. Now, this room gets expensive because plates, bowls, forks, knives, spoons, tongs, spatula, pots, pans, kitchen towels, oven mitts, cookie sheets, baking pans, blenders, and trash cans get a little bit pricey. And that's not even all the extra stuff. All right, there's no microwave in there. There's no freaking panini press if you are just a super fan of grilled cheese sandwiches. All right, we ain't got no blender if you like the smoothie life. You know, But thank goodness you have all of this, because this stuff still does get expensive. My little brother and his fiance just moved in with each other, and they'll be getting married at the end of, at the beginning of next week. I won't be here next Monday, by the way. I'll be at a wedding. Y'all will watch a video from one of my previous classes. But I spent $350 getting them just a set of pots and pans. $350. Kitchens get expensive. I've got about a $2,000 kitchen because of all the little gadgets that I've got. I've got a bread maker. I've got all the little things that I love using that allow me to create more things without having to be busy in the kitchen all freaking day. Right? I love me some kitchen gadgets. All right? And then, your living room. And this place, your sofa, the first thing you're going to start with. You can get a good TV for like $200 right now. That's a nice big one, 50-inch for like $200. But a sofa, a quality sofa that is not going to give you some kind of a parasite or infest your home with bed bugs, could cost you as much as $2,000. For just something real basic, you might wind up spending $600-700. Thank goodness you already have all of this, because just that gets expensive. Not even going to talk about the other furniture. But good thing you already have all of that, right? Now, in review, we're looking at a total shelter cost of $550 a month with $1,100 worth of deposits, but that's cool because we only have to pay deposits once. Well, unless we move. Now let's talk about food. All right, well, do you know how to cook? Or do you eat out? Well, eating out is roughly $7 a meal. 3 meals a day, $20 a day. Very reasonable. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I can go to Stripes for breakfast and spend like $3. You can, but if you go to Burger King for lunch, you're spending at least 10. Whataburger, you're spending at least 11 or 12 for something decent. So $20 a day for 3 meals, that's pretty reasonable. Okay. Well, times 30 days, that's $600 a month. Now, if you like to cook, are you Emerald Spice in the kitchen? Do you actually know what you're doing? Then fantastic. Cooking, it's only $200 a month, right? Because groceries are relatively cheap. At least when you buy them yourself. But let's be normal, do a little bit of both. All right, so total food, $400 a month. Half for cooking, half for eating out. Right? Total shelter, $550 a month. Total essentials, food, shelter, and water, $950 a month. Fantastic. All right, now, you want a car, right? New or used? Everybody seems to want a new car, right? Everybody wants a new car. I mean, even I would love a new car. But new cars are expensive. But let's run the numbers on new car just so you can see what a standard payment's going to look like when you're ready to buy yourself a car. Because a new car is going to run you somewhere in the neighborhood of $600 a month. It could be more, it could be less. My mother was buying a car for about $300 a month, but that was this little super tiny economy car that was it was an amazing deal. My brother was buying a Ford Raptor, and it was costing him about $750 a month. All right, but that allows you to say that the car is yours. Now you have to make it legal, because to be legal, it has to have insurance. All right, average cost for insurance people your age, about $350 a month. Now, if you're getting a new car, you are required to maintain full coverage, because if you wreck that car, if that car is stolen, if a tree falls on it, the people that are selling you their car want that money. And the only way to ensure that they get that money is if you maintain insurance on it and keep making your payments. All right, if something happens to the car, well, the insurance will take care of it. If nothing happens to the car, then you get to pay it off and just keep it. All right, but that is $350 a month. But we still got to get it places. This is just owning it and making it legal to take out on the road. Now we have to put gas in the mug. All right, now gas, $200 to $300 a month may sound like a lot, but right now I'm spending just for my daily commute to work and home. I'm currently spending approximately, gas has been going down a little bit, so I'm down to about $110 a month. And that is just for when I come to work and go home. That's it. Okay. So spending double that, because my fiance has a car that's much more economical than mine, and we use that for all the little running around. But with the two cars, yeah, we probably spend somewhere in that neighborhood, $200 to $300. We don't go out and do much. If you want to go out and do stuff, then it's definitely going to be a little more expensive, but we'll give you the halfway point and call it $250, right? So your total car cost is going to be $1,100. I'm sorry, that's $150. $1,100 bucks. Okay. Total essentials, $950. Let's look at the scary numbers. All right, folks, because this is what life means. Do you have a degree? No? No degree? No higher education yet? You're not already graduated with a bachelor's or a master's in something? Well, then you qualify for a minimum wage job. And even people with bachelor's and master's qualify only for minimum wage jobs. Make sure that the college that you go to is for a specific career. I want to be an architect. I want to be, a freaking carpenter. I want to be a plumber. I want to be an HVAC repairman. I want to be a freaking underwater welder. A specific job in mind, right? Because without that specific job given to you by that specific degree, you will be stuck with minimum wage jobs, possibly up to some management stuff, right? But minimum wage with no work experience, that's where you're going to start, and that's $7.25 an hour. All right. Now, no full-time jobs anymore because full-time employers with too many employees have to help them out with insurance. So everybody does part-time now. So now you're going to need at least 2 jobs. And let's assume you have 2 jobs that always give you 20 hours a week and they always work perfectly together and neither of your bosses is an idiot. Well, every single time I've had 2 jobs in my life, one of my bosses has been an idiot. One of them does not understand. One time it was even college and work. My very first job, I told my boss I get out at 3. My boss was like, great. I was scheduled to come in to 3. Problem is there was an hour distance between University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, used to be Pan Am, back when I was going. Okay. The distance between Pan Am and my house was about 50 minutes. The distance between my house and work was about 10 minutes in the same direction I was traveling while coming back from Pan Am. So that quite simply means the soonest I could have gotten to work would have been an hour later. The absolute soonest, no problems with traffic, nothing like that. And yet somehow this intelligent person with a college degree kept scheduling me for 3 o'clock even though I told them that 4:30 was the soonest I could reliably make it there. And then kept getting mad at me because I wasn't there on time, even though I continuously explained it. So bosses will not perfectly work together most of the time. You will have to be very lucky, folks. All right, but $7.25 an hour times 40 hours, that's $290 a week. That's full time at minimum wage. Well, that's before taxes. If you do not have any children, then you lose approximately 1/6 of your earning to income taxes. Okay. Well, 1/6 of 290 is approximately $50. We're going to keep it simple and call it 50. So now you make $240 a week. There are 4 weeks in a month. So that's $960 a month, with an occasional month at $1,200. 3 times a year, you get that extra month, or you get 5 Fridays, or that extra paycheck. All right. But that's a total monthly income of $960. Now the problem lies in this: total monthly income $960. Cost of essentials $950. Cost of car $1,100. We cannot afford a car at minimum wage. Right? I have never had a brand new car. I've never driven a car off the lot with 0 miles. Right? Because my degree was in biology. My generalized degree was not going to specifically get me any job, and I kind of stopped dealing with it when I realized, oh my God, the only thing I'm going to be able to do is teach at a school, and I certainly don't want that. I certainly don't want that. So I didn't finish my degree. I didn't keep spending money on college. But I should have had a better plan from the get-go, because that left me in this situation a lot, right? Where I just barely had enough money to make ends meet. All right. Now, then $10 that you got left over after paying all your bills is your entertainment budget. But I do want to point out, we haven't discussed your subscription to any kind of cell phone or internet service. There's no Netflix or Hulu in your future. Ready to move out and start paying all the stuff on your own? I hope not. Folks, y'all are fortunate that you are blessed that you can freaking get college credits in school. I only got two. I only got credit for 2 courses, Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, because I needed to prove to an idiot that I could speak Spanish so that I could take Spanish 5 in high school. It was the only reason I took those courses, and I had to pay for them myself, $260 a piece. And if I didn't score a 95 or higher on each of those tests, then I wouldn't have gotten the credit. I got it in both. And the teacher shut up and let me in his Spanish 5 class. Okay? But you are taking part of a graduated driver's licensing program. Right now, we are in the learner's permit stage. Okay, that's what we're doing now, classes, driving, etc. Right, next is going to come your intermediate licensing stage. That's going to be when you can drive alone, but you still have some restrictions. No nighttime driving between midnight and 5:30. Those are consequentially the hours you are most likely to encounter a drunk driver. All right, that's why they don't want you out during those hours. But you can be out there during those hours if you have written permission from your folks. All right. You can't have more than 1 non-relative minor in the car. That means you could have 20 cousins in the car if the car holds 20 people. Well, it actually can't. I think the biggest would be like 11 or 15. A 15-passenger van is the biggest vehicle you'd be able to drive. So you could have like 14 cousins in the vehicle with you, but only 1 person that's not related. Why? I think it's kind of because we have personal accountability with our family. You know, if you make a mistake, you almost crash, your deal will tan your hide. In place of you getting into legal trouble. But the reason that they don't want a bunch of people that aren't related to you is a similar reason. Friends will peer pressure you into doing dangerous and dumb things. Family, not as much. But they also don't know, our culture, because some of the dumbest things I was ever told to do in a car was by fam. So it goes. All right, but you can only have 1 friend in the car. So you can still go on dates. You can take your best friend to go do something. But you can't have a bunch of friends in the car, because a bunch of friends in the car does cause a lot more negative peer pressure. And they understand that makes drivers do dumb things. All right? Now, the next step is going to be your full privilege licensing stage. Once you have finished the classwork, once you have done all the assignments, once you have passed the DPS exam and gotten your certificate, gotten your permit, done the 6 months of driving, done the 7 lessons, watched the video, and gotten that license for those first couple of years, then you turn 18 and all the restrictions drop off once you renew. And you can renew 60 days before your actual 18th birthday. So you can start driving whenever and however the heck you want, 60 days before you turn 18, as long as you renew on that day. Okay? I strongly recommend, once again, y'all going in and renewing in person so that you can keep that nice young picture for 16 years, or right? I think it's 16 years. It's every 8 years now. But if you want to, you can renew online, and then the next time you'll need to go and renew in person, and they will take a new picture when you renew. All right? But you can start driving all unrestricted 60 days before you turn 18, as long as you stay on top of it. But learning to drive is a continuous process. Okay? In the last year, I have run into 3 instances, 3 situations that I'd never seen before, and my gas was flabbered. I was flabbergasted. I'll admit it, it was nuts. But that happens because people will find new and innovative ways to be stupid on the roadway. People will do ridiculous things. So always pay attention. Never think that you know everything. Never think that you're ready for anything, because some crazy nonsense will happen. All right? Good drivers never stop learning. Now that we've arrived at the second week of class, at the end of each class, we are going to have a little chapter review. First, I'm going to go over the questions and the answers. If you'd like to answer, we would appreciate it. It's class participation, but y'all are the last live stream class, so I'll be able to enforce class participation in the future. So if y'all want to be a little shy, it's okay. I'm not going to get upset about it. Now, which of the following is part of the Highway Transportation System, the HTS? Is that passengers, roadways, vehicles, or all of the above? Question number 2. It is important to learn low-risk driving habits so that you can. Oh, and if you do want to throw an answer, just put the number and then the answer. That way I know which one you were attempting to answer. Thank you. Now, number 2. It is important to learn low-risk driving habits so that you can complete a qualified driver's education course, get the attention you want, actively avoid dangerous driving situations, or use the HTS. Okay. Now, if you hold a learner's permit, you can drive after you attend traffic school, alone after you complete a driver's education course, during daylight hours only, or only with a licensed adult driver. Number 4, the operating costs of driving include is that car insurance, licensing fees, the cost of the vehicle, or fuel and tires. Which of those are operating costs? Number 5, okay, this sign is important for drivers because is it laws regulating the highway transportation system require that used oil be recycled? Is it because drivers have a responsibility to preserve our environment? Is it because drivers have a responsibility to control driving costs? Or is it because graduated driver's licensing programs require that you know how to recycle oil? What do you think? Number 6, if you are involved in a collision, by law, you must, only one of these must you do. Must you get out, get medical attention, call your insurance company, or stop? Which one of these is required by law? And then number 7, I'm not even going to ask it, I'm going to tell you. The most important thing action you should take before signing this card is discuss it with your family. This is an organ donor request, right? Choosing to sign this, filling this out means that in the event that extraordinary life-saving measures are required, paramedics will no longer perform them on you. Because you are now an organ donor and you represent 7 people that could be saved, if not more. Okay? But at a minimum, 7 people's lives can be saved with the organs that you will be donating because you have agreed to become an organ donor. So the paramedics will no longer perform extraordinary life-saving measures. Well, that sounds okay, right? But what exactly are extraordinary life-saving measures? Well, any transfusion requiring more than 3 pints of blood. Your body contains about 9. You can lose about 7 before bleeding to death. Or no, 12, and you can lose 7 before bleeding to death. So losing 3 and then being like, no, that's too much, seems like a little bit much. So maybe not great for a teenager. What else? CPR is an extraordinary life-saving measure. If you're not breathing on your own, well, they may keep oxygen going through your system, but they're not going to actively be trying to resuscitate you. They'll just keep pumping air into your system and hope that your body can take care of it long enough to get you to the hospital to, once again, harvest those lovely organs. Now, you are saving lives, so they are pretty damn serious about getting you to the hospital fast enough to get those harvested, but they're also really serious that there's just a ton of things they won't do for you anymore because you're more valuable as a donor than you are as an individual to save. So that line is way closer to "are you kidding me" than seems reasonable. So please do research what all those limitations are before you agree to become an organ donor, because I've seen a ton of teenagers become organ donors. I'm 41, my kids are teenagers, they're pretty much good to go. I've taught them the right way of life. I've readied them for adulthood to the best of my abilities for their current age, and if I died tomorrow, my organs would go to save someone because I am an organ donor. But I've also lived one hell of a life, and I've had a lot of opportunity, and I'm happy with who I am, what I've become, and what I've accomplished with my life. There's still more I want to do. That's why I'm still living it. But in the event that I can save somebody else, I am an organ donor. All right, there are hoes on my eyes, though, because these things suck. Okay, so don't just sign this thinking that it's cool, thinking that about those lives you're going to save. Think about what they'll no longer do for you and whether or not that's worth it at this point in your life. And basically, it's not. Now, if you're, you got your life going, you're happy, you're content, and you feel that, should you be called your eternal resting, whatever it may be, then you're okay at that point. Well, awesome. But live some life first. Get some experience on there, and then determine whether or not it's okay. And then the National Traffic and Motor Vehicle Safety Act requires, the answer is in the question, folks. States to monitor highway construction and maintenance, the federal government to set guidelines for licensing, government agencies to regulate traffic courts, or automakers to install safety features in cars. all in the question. All right, so back to number one. Yes, thank you. You are absolutely correct. Which of the following is part of the HTS? All of the above. Passengers, roadways, vehicles, anybody on the road, whether they're a driver or a passenger, is absolutely part of the HTS. The roads are part, and so are the vehicles. That's basically everything that it consists of, because even the driver's a passenger in a vehicle. They're just in the driver's seat. Now, it's important to learn low-risk driving habits so that you can actively avoid dangerous driving situations. We learn to do things the safe way so that we can become safe drivers. And that's our number one concern. And when we teach you to drive, we teach you to be safe. Okay? Now, if you hold a learner's permit, you can drive only with a licensed adult driver in the front seat, paying attention, actively helping you out. So do you get to drive to school with your permit? Only if your parent works at the school and you get to drive them there. Now, the operating costs of driving a vehicle, well, car insurance is a legal requirement. Licensing fees is a legal requirement. The cost of a vehicle is the cost of ownership. But the operating cost is fuel and tires, because fuel does get spent and tires do need to be replaced. Okay, so are oil changes and things like that. Now, if you hold, I'm sorry, wrong way. Ha 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 ha. No, I'm going backwards in time. No, there we go. All right, number 5. All right, this sign is important for drivers because drivers have a responsibility to preserve our environment, because cars and drivers are the number one polluters in the world. All right, we refuse to stop driving, because driving really does make a massive difference in life. And because of that, we are the number one polluters. That's why so many companies are going to electric cars. Number 6, if you are involved in a collision, by law, you must stop and render aid. You don't have to get out. You don't have to get medical attention. You don't even have to call your insurance company if you don't want to. But you are required to stop and render aid by law if you are involved in a collision. If it is your fault and you don't want to get your car repaired through the insurance, you don't have to. And if the accident was tiny and you're okay with the dent in your car, awesome. That's all that needs to be done. But you are required to stop and make sure that everyone's okay, and make sure that medical professionals check everyone out, and then y'all can go. You don't get charged anything for an ambulance that comes out, and then you're like, no, I'm not taking the ride. I just needed you to make sure I'm all right. No concussion. All right? What's the number one thing to do with this? Discuss it with your family. Talk to them and get their opinions on, what they will and won't do for you to save your life. And maybe determine if it's the best time. I personally think a little later in life is better. But y'all know yourself. Y'all know your situations. Y'all know the life that you live. And if you're ready to go, more power to you, folks. The people that you save will be most grateful for your sacrifice. Then, the National Traffic and Motor Vehicle Safety Act requires, well, it's a safety act, so it requires automakers to install safety features in all cars. Shatterproof glass, shatter-resistant windshields, seat belts, airbags. The freaking secondary lock on your hood's a requirement. Anti-lock brakes. There are so many things that are required for automakers to put into cars to help keep you safe, because as the technology has become a real thing, it becomes the standard. Okay? Once they determine that anyone can have it on the vehicle and it is necessary for safe operation, then they make it a requirement, because we need cars to be safe. All right. Tucker, Man in His Dream. It's a movie about a guy that had a dream about making cars safe back when cars did used to be death traps. Because of his efforts and the progression of time, the world's actually got some pretty dang safe cars right now. All right. So cool stuff if you want to check it out. Now, every day make the world a better place, but first, do no harm. Every day, make that choice, make that change, make that decision that is going to take you one step closer to the kind of person that you aspire to be, to the person that you want to be, the kind of friend you want to be, the kind of neighbor you want to be, the kind of son, the kind of daughter, or maybe just the step to prepare you for the future that you want. But every day, make a change, because we don't have to just be okay. We can always find a place to improve. We can always do a little bit more to make ourselves a little better. All right, no one's gotten there. All right. 1 second. All right. But that power is yours, folks. All right. Someone insults you a bunch of times and you jump out your chair and smack them across the face. You did that. You chose to do that. That was your decision. That was your action. All right. We need to learn. Yeah, we got to accept responsibility for our stuff. Oh, well, he said. I had a man with a gun stand there and tell me that he was going to shoot me if he even thought I was getting angry at me as he started insulting me. And after about 30 seconds of him going off, his buddy came back from the restroom. I was at a pool hall playing a friendly game of billiards. It got unfriendly quickly. And his friend came back from the bathroom and saw what was going on and immediately waylaid this guy. All right? And then I left very quickly, told the bouncer on my way out, hey, that dude's got a gun. He just held me at gunpoint. I'm going to go outside, call the cops for my car. All right, you keep an eye on him. Be careful with other people. And that's what happened. But if I was weak and if the slightest insult made me fly off the handle, he'd have shot me right then and there in that bar, in that pool hall. And I'd have felt real bad because the life that I lived after that is the good part. That was back when life was still rough. So we can all make changes. We can all find something that we don't like about ourselves and improve or prepare ourselves for the future. We can find a deficiency in a skill. You want to be, a programmer, make sure that your typing is on point. Make sure that you can do that stuff blindfolded in the dark with a broken monitor. That level of amazing, because you're going to need it when you become a coach. You want to become a doctor? Fantastic. Doctors' number one trait that all graduates from medical school share is insane study habits. Get into the habit of studying and memorizing material for the purpose of keeping it for the rest of your life, not just memorization for a test. There's changes for everything, folks. All we have to do is find it. Now, if anyone has any questions, issues, or concerns, anything that they would like to know, anything that is boggling their mind, please ask right now. We are more than happy to answer your questions. Tomorrow, though, we will be getting together for basic vehicle operation. On Wednesday, we will talk about managing risk with IPDE, the Smith system, and zone control. Thursday, that's physics day. In case you didn't get to see my shirt, it's a physical pun, or a physics pun. It's speed raptor over distance raptor equals velociraptor. I'm a nerd. I thought it was hilarious. I loved it. I bought the shirt. But yeah, Thursday's physics day, and it's actually my favorite day in the coursework because we've learned some great stuff, and I just love the science behind this. I really do, because understanding the physics a little bit better means that we're going to be less likely to speed, because once you understand how physics affects stopping distance, it's like, okay, I totally understand why speeding's a bad idea. All right. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Today was day 6 of Teen Driver Education, the Hernandez Driveway. I will be getting the homework assignment and, of course, tomorrow's video link posted up. So thank you for joining us. If anyone does have any questions, issues, or concerns that they didn't get to ask today, please have them ready tomorrow. Tomorrow will not be a super long day either, folks. All right? Or tomorrow will be a little shorter than today was. But thank you so much, everybody. We'll see y'all then. Same bad time, same bad channel for day 7 of Teen Driver Education, the Hernandez Driveway, basic vehicle operation. Bye, everyone. Be well. Work on that observation. Start looking. We got to stay safe when we're driving, so we got to look at every intersection as we come up and see traffic from all 3 directions. Work on it, folks. Be well, be safe, and just continue to be awesome. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.